back in Northeast, there's a lot of, yeah, uh, I mean, it's still very conventional. Maybe not conventional in the way conventionalism is understood in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, or North Indian culture or South Indian culture, but we are also very conventional in our own ways. And being a landlocked region which has not really interacted with the world as such, we're still very much steeped in our own, like practices, which is also very Victorian ever since the British occupation. So there again, we face a lot of alienation from our kin. So for a Northeastern queer identity, we want to run away from our friends, from our kins amidst whom we were born. And then when you step out from there and you come to another city, you did get that anonymity. You're not answerable to your neighbors anymore. You're not answerable to your friends anymore. This can be a completely new set of people that you can, like relate to or start developing a relationship with. Um, but then again, the element of queerness comes in. So for me, migration has always been about anonymity and also assimilation and a lot of frustration and anger and angst when things don't work out, when you feel like you're the only one who has always put in the effort from your side. And assimilation is very important, I feel, because I mean that's how you respect the culture that you've just moved into. That's how you respect the people and your sentiments to where you just moved into. But when you feel like the effort is always from your side, I feel like assimilation should also be from their side, and they should try and accommodate us as well. And when that doesn't happen, then a lot of frustration, anxiety, stress comes in. Most often, a lot of queer people, Northeastern population, and also speaking about queer population, had to leave the city where they migrated, looking for better opportunities, because the first few years are fantastic. Suddenly you're anonymous. Suddenly you're able to wear a lot of things you were able to wear, you wanted to wear. So you're able to do a lot many things that you wanted to do. But then again, the assumptions and the imagination, the stereotypical assumptions and the imaginations about how you look and where you're from keeps coming in as a block, Um, and your self-determination is limited to just playing along those stereotypes. Either you take the benefit of those stereotypes and you try to make the best out of yourself through that, or when you try to actually that sometimes that helps for us when we try to sell ourselves as the way we're stereotyped. That way we are able to at least mark a space for ourselves. But when you want to go beyond that, that's when all the lot of hurdles comes in, a lot of frustration comes in. And that's exactly where Chinky Homo Project is also about. It took a lot of years for me and David to also sort of consolidate our struggles into a project. I think this is something that I keep saying, that it's a struggle that, I mean, sometimes it's also not so visible, the kind of frustration you're going through. So to talk about it, I think housing is really problematic for us, generally speaking, as Northeastern person, because I think there is an assumption that Northeastern are sort of associated with Western dresses, and also because Christianity, a lot of Northeastern states are Christian states, and then they sort of assume that, liquor is like, we don't drink whiskey, or rum is not the liquor that we drink back at home. Rice beer, there's a particular brand of rice beer that we drink back at home, and which is something very traditional, right? And I think the mainland Indians sort of associate that sort of a culture with the Western culture, which is quite a very wrong appropriation. On the basis of that, it's really hard. As a student, I remember like a lot of like ghettos were the only place where we could actually find a place to live. But if somebody is looking for security and somebody wants to, take up a house in a gated community, like nobody would give us, because the first question they ask will be, will you bring people for party? Is there going to be drinking and things? I mean, somebody is there to study, that's the main priority. And if some sort of a social, and I think everyone deserves a social gathering. If I'm living in a city away from home, I would definitely want to invite friends from home and cook what we eat at home. Food, not just the smell of the food is another thing through which we are very much, we face, like that being the reason why we're not given a house to stay, because you'll cook something which will smell foul. But basically this, and to talk about as a queer person, I think the vulnerability that I feel somehow gets more acute when I think of myself as a queer. You talk about say, I haven't been in Mumbai, so I don't know to give the example. But if I have to talk about Delhi, there is this Parathe Wala Gali in Old Delhi, which is quite a very famous place. People from different parts of Delhi throng there at 2 o'clock in the night to have parathas, and finds it very safe because there are so many people there. But I wonder if I go there, will I feel safe as much as people do? Because first and foremost thing is I am Northeast, and if I am again effeminate as that, I feel I'll face a lot of like neglect, indifference, and what if somebody decided to sort of violate me there, start doing violence onto me? I think this is where, like, some of the way the, like, in most of the times when I'm going around, when everything is going fine with me, I don't face it, I don't feel that vulnerability. But when something bad happens to me, that's when I feel very vulnerable, because I don't think, it's really sad, but I don't think I feel like if anything happens to me, I think I just resort to the fact that nobody's gonna come and help me. If my honor hasn't given me back my rent security, which I paid while taking the house, and I'm leaving, I don't even feel like I can go to police and police will help me. So, and first and foremost thing is because you're Northeastern, so they're not gonna listen to you. And somehow I would, if I were if I was cisgendered and straight, I think I would still have the courage to sort of nudge them. But the kind of indifference that people give me just when they see the gender that I am, or when they assume my sexuality or sexual orientation, the sense of neglect, the sense of indifference, the sense of disgust that they emit towards me is just overwhelming. I think at that point, what I would feel is to not engage, to like, just like, at least you have not been, I know, like you feel like whatever is left of you, the dignity that you still feel, the integrity that you still feel inside, whatever is left with you, let me just at least protect this and get away from the scene. So many times we don't report. I mean, a Northeastern, there's a lot of violence that happens onto us. We don't report, we don't believe in the police system over here, we don't believe in our neighbors over here. And sometimes when somebody does come out and help, we feel so overwhelmed, we feel like a miracle has happened, Okay, like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? Sometimes we're even shocked by that. Friends, circles, and especially when you're a student and you have a lot of support, but if you're migrating as somebody who is going to come, work-wise, I think that is there again. Like when you get into a university, nobody feels that threatened by that you're taking away some seat or something like that. But in workspace, we do face it a lot, Like looking back at my experience over the past 10 years that I've been out of home, and I mean, not counting the times when I was studying, but when I started working, yeah, I took a job from someone, but I think it was never on my benefit, because the money that I earned through the job, I have to invest a lot of money in order to survive or in order to live in the city, like paying the rent every month, or even for living expenses as well. Rather, I think the migrant population, and right now I think I'm talking about a lot of educated migrant from Northeast, like they do their graduations there, or they come and they go into the IT industry, the BPO industry and all that. I think they're doing distribution of wealth, right? Because I saw a lot of ghettos being developed into small nagari, In Delhi, they are first called Gaon, village, Humayunpur village, vagera, vagera, vagera. Then they become something like a sarai, and then they become something like a nagar. But it's not the people who are living there doing their own business and then developing themselves. In fact, the way they do it is, they will open it up to, like a lot of people who would come in and take up a house, and based on the rent that they are sort of getting from the migrant, the such ghettos are sort of developing into nagars and all that. So I think we're doing distribution of wealth, actually. Nothing to take back. I don't think many of the people from Northeast who come and work here send as much money home so that they're building houses back at home. If you land yourself in a high-paying job, then of course, I mean, that is there. But I think majority of us are just here trying to have, say, five years of glory in your life. Like it's a violence-ridden region, and you don't have much opportunities also, and you don't want to live your life like that for the rest of your life, no. So I know that a lot of people come here for studies, and A lot of people also come here looking for odd jobs, but they are not going to stick with that. In fact, even if they want to sort of build on that, they would not be allowed to.